Hey, welcome to lesson 15. This is the third lesson in ancient Greece. We started off by talking about geography and the Trojan War. Yesterday we talked about Greek city-states, focusing mainly on Athens and Sparta. Today we're going to learn about Athens and Sparta some more as we talk about the Persian Wars, which was a series of wars between the Greeks and the Persians. So Persian Wars were a series of wars between the Greeks and the Persians, with the most powerful Greek city-states being Athens and Sparta. By 546 BC, Persia had become the most dominant empire in the world, and they began to expand into areas of Greece. You can see Persia on the map here is the orange. They go all the way from basically India in the east to Egypt in the west, and now in the north of Egypt, they're starting to get into Greece. So after the Persians gained control of Anatolia, which is modern day Turkey, the Greeks began to revolt, primarily started and aided by Athens. Darius the Great, who was the leader of Persia at the time, put down a rebellion and vowed to destroy Athens in revenge. And Darius the Great was the leader of Persia during the most dominant age and at the beginning of the Persian Wars. One of the first famous battles of the Persian Wars was the Battle of Marathon. In 490 BC, the Persian army attacked a severely outnumbered Athens army near Marathon in Greece. And using a phalanx formation, Athens won the battle. They suffered less than 200 casualties. They forced the Persians to retreat, largely due to the phalanx formation and to strategy. So a phalanx formation is when the Greeks would take their shields and they would overlap them side by side so that you could not get through those shields. And then, in the other hand, they would have a spear or a sword that they would have out. So they create this human wall of shields and spears and swords to try to prevent the enemy from attacking, and was very useful at the time because they could block arrows and prevent the enemy from attacking as long as they stayed in this formation. Some historians called it the ancient tank. Well, the Greeks won the Battle of Marathon, which was mostly Athens for the Greeks. And after the battle was over, it really wasn't over. You see, the Greeks won the Battle of Marathon, but the entire Athenian army was at Marathon, not at Athens. So Persia said, hey, we've lost this battle, but let's get in our ships. Let's sail to Athens and destroy Athens while the army's still away at Marathon. So although Athens won the battle, their city stood now defenseless, and according to tradition, army leaders chose a young leader named Phidippides to race back to Athens, and he was a distance runner, someone who would send messages from place to place, sometimes running hundreds of miles without stopping, and he brought the news of the Persian defeat, so Athens would not give up the city without a fight. So he dashes over 20 miles from Marathon to Athens across mountains and delivers the message, rejoice, we conquer. But then he, according to legend, collapsed and died. Now, the rapidly moving army of Athens followed him, marched very quickly, and they actually arrived at Athens not long after him and before the Persians actually sailed there. So it took the Persians longer to sail from Marathon to Athens than it did to run or even march from Marathon to Athens. And when the Persians sailed into the harbor, they found the city was heavily defended, with the Greek army standing outside waiting for them, and already being defeated at Marathon. They decide to return to sea and retreat rather than start another battle. And now this battle is remembered over and over again as people run 26.2 miles in a marathon race, recreating the same distance that Phidippides ran from Marathon to Athens to make sure that Athens did not surrender before the army returned. So Greece won the Battle of Marathon, Athens won the Battle of Marathon, and it appeared that they had pushed the Persians out of Greece. However, 10 years later, the Persian Wars start back up again as Xerxes sets out to conquer Greece. So this is 10 years after Marathon, and Xerxes, who's the Persian leader, set to conquer all of Greece. He is the son and successor of his father, the Persian leader Darius the Great, who we talked about at the Battle of Marathon, who was leader when Athens defeated Persia at the Battle of Marathon. The Persian army met no resistance early on. They marched down the eastern coast of Greece until they came to a narrow mountain pass at Thermopylae. And they were blocked by about 7,000 Greeks, including 300 Spartans. So you can see on the map here how they're marching down the coastline and not really meeting any resistance until they reach Thermopylae, which is this red dot down here. And at this point, the Greeks decide they're going to make a stand, trying to prevent the Persian army to make it to Athens. And this works really well because you have a narrow mountain pass, which means that even though the Greeks can be highly, highly, highly outnumbered, they're going to be able to fight them more in hand-to-hand, one-on-one combat, where the Persians are more comfortable with bows and arrows and archers. The Greeks feel very comfortable with the hand-to-hand combat and the phalanx formation with the shields overlapping and the spears forming this human wall, the tank of the ancient world. So this is a strategic place for them, with the narrow sides preventing too many Persians from attacking at one time. And here you can see what the paths would look like. So they had the walls on their side, making it very difficult for the Persians to fight many people at the same time. So they'd be lined up just 30, 40 people wide or whatever it would be, and fighting. And then if the Greeks won, then somebody else would step up for the Persians. And if they win again, then the Persians would have to step up. So they're fighting a long line of people, basically one at a time rather than all of them at once, which gives the Greeks a big advantage in the fact that they are very good in hand-to-hand combat. They have better armor, they have better weapons. So this gives them an advantage temporarily, although they are highly, highly, highly outnumbered, over 40 to 1, maybe even more than that in this case. So the Greeks are led by the Spartan king Leonidas. He is a Spartan king and a warrior. The Greeks fight very bravely despite being highly outnumbered and held off the Persian advance for 3 days. However, now you have a traitor entering the mix. So a Greek goes to Xerxes, the Persian leader, and says, "Hey, I know a way around this mountain path." And he tells them a way to go through the mountains. And you can see on a dotted line over here, instead of going through Thermopylae, they can retreat, go through this little pass here, and they can get to the east gate of the Battle of Thermopylae and be able to encircle them, force them out into a larger field where their archers can take them down, and where they can force them to get out of the phalanx formation and attack them from the side. So it allows them to encircle and outflank the Greeks, since this Greek trader for gold sold out his own country. So with the news coming that the Persians were going through the mountain path rather than through Thermopylae, Leonidas has a decision to make. And he tells the other Greeks, most of the other Greeks, to return, go back, protect Athens, we'll beat them in a future battle. Meanwhile, him and a few 300 Spartans, a few hundred other Greeks are going to stay at Thermopylae and delay the Persian advance long enough to allow them to get organized and launch another defense against the Persians. Well, the Greeks fight bravely again, but every Spartan warrior dies. They're killed. Leonidas is killed. The Spartan king, the leader of the Greeks at Thermopylae, and Xerxes has Leonidas' body hunted down, has his head cut off, and put it on a pike or a stick as kind of a monument or symbol for what happened at Thermopylae. However, even though the Greeks lost and the Persians won, this becomes a symbolic gesture. It's very well remembered in history. There have been movies based on this. So the Spartans did not win, but they did hold off the Persian attack long enough and allow the other Greeks to retreat so that they would be able to fight in future battles. And eventually what's going to happen is Greece is going to win this war against the Persians and force the Persians into retreat once again. And eventually the Greeks will conquer the Persians several years later under the rule of Alexander the Great. So that concludes the Battle of Marathon, the Battle of Thermopylae. As I said, the Greeks won the Battle of Marathon. They lost the Battle of Thermopylae, but the sacrifice made by the Spartans is going to allow them to regroup and fight again. They're going to defeat the Greeks are going to work together, both Athens and Sparta, along with several other city-states, to defeat the Persians at sea at the Battle of Salamis. And then later, the Greeks are going to defeat the Persians again at the Battle of Plateau. Eventually, the Persians going to retreat and leave Greece. And eventually, the Persian Empire is going to weaken, and Alexander the Great will unite the Greeks to launch an attack against the Persians several years later. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully this helped you guys out. I have a video for you guys to watch. I have this reading for you guys to do and answer these questions. And then there is a Quizlet for you guys to do if you get all that accomplished. So thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later. Bye.